Hey, Aries, Mel, Intuitive Coach here, excited to bring in your February 2025 love and family reading. If you're interested in a personal reading, signing up for the monthly newsletter, or entering into the free reading giveaway, you can find all of that information in the description box below the video. All right, Aries, welcome. For those of you that may be single, which we'll look at all circumstances here, but for those of you that are single, I feel like you've been working on opening yourself up to intimacy or vulnerability, because we have the teddy bear in the past position, and this is about you having such a beautiful heart and wanting to date, wanting to put yourself out there. And I even see people, reaching out, connecting to you. This could be friendships as well that have developed into more, or there could be a strong connection here, but it feels like someone is fearing how moving forward is going to turn out for them based on some sort of pain that they've gone through in the past. Now, for those of you that may be in a committed relationship, I feel like there's been a lack of intimacy or a lack of connection here in some way. But in the future, we do have some new options coming up here for you. And I don't mean just people, which for those of you that are single, yeah, there's some options of new energies coming in. But for those of you that are struggling with intimacy, vulnerability, and you tend to let that fight or flight kick in, or maybe even fawn, where you may be a people pleaser, or you may forget about yourself, abandon yourself at times in order to help others. You have wrapped up some huge cycle here when it comes to learning a lesson around the heart, okay, or evolving from a circumstance or situation that you've gone through. It's caused a lot of anxiety. Look at that 9 of Swords here. So this is really beautiful. In the future, I do see you moving forward. It says here, key on a ring. Key on a ring, and this talks about unconventional ways of moving forward that align more with who you are. And I feel like the conventional way or the traditional way of how you've been doing something, maybe it hasn't been working. Perhaps it's been fleeting, because it does say one night stand on here. Now, some of you, that could be the case, but for others of you, it just feels like a hit or miss. Like if you're dating, it could be a one-off date where you see someone once and it really didn't work out, and you're finding stragglers, as we'll call them. Okay, nothing wrong with the individual. They're just not your forever person. I feel like that is shifting. You don't want to be strung along. You don't want to just be moving forward in a relationship, not feeling much. I think that is changing here for you. Yeah, Knight of Pentacles. You have the Knight of Pentacles coming in here, and that is what is changing, is you're getting honest completely 100% with yourself. You have the 3 of Swords in reverse with the Tower. So this is really addressing something that it feels heavy. It feels difficult with the 9 of Swords, but ultimately once you address this, remember what I said about the fight or flight or fawn? For some of you that tend to get very defensive, perhaps if you've been stonewalled yourself, or it just feels like there's been a bit of a wall up. For others of you that have ran away, okay? For those of you that have ran away from situations, or again, people pleasers out there, I feel like you are addressing some of these things and you're saying, wait a second, let's back it up a minute. Why is my mind and brain and heart all going back to this one circumstance? Even if you're not consciously aware of it, you are reacting based on something that may have happened to you in the past, or there is a fear of hurt or pain moving into the future. Oh, look at this. I love your outcome. All right, stay tuned to the end, because we have some juicy good stuff coming in here. 6 of Wands is at the bottom of the deck. The 6 of Wands is victory. I mean, look at this guy. He is immobile to a point where he has to work extra hard to get better at basketball. You can see that he's in a wheelchair there, and he will not let his immobility stop him from being the best that he possibly can be. So whatever your quote unquote immobility is, perhaps this is an insecurity that you have about yourself. I mean, some of you, yes, it could be some specific type of handicap, but I feel for a lot of you, this has to do with your own insecurity, whether it is the way that you look, or it could even be parts of yourself that have felt overlooked, that have felt unrecognizable, or you felt alienated. Some of you are shifting that dynamic and you're saying, wait a second, I deserve a shot, quite literally. I deserve a shot at love. I deserve a shot at connection. I deserve a shot at life just like anyone else does here. And because you are telling yourself a new story, that is how we overcome the fight or flight or fawn. We train our brains to come up with a new story, one that is brighter, one that doesn't keep us stuck in that fight, flight, or fawn. And that's what you're doing, is you're saying, wait a second, I don't have to sit here right behind it, 8 of Cups. I don't have to sit here in some sort of pain or misery, or at least if I had to grieve, I spent time grieving, but I don't have to spend a whole life grieving. I can move forward here in victory. And some of you are having a heart-to-heart with yourself, and it's a bit of, I don't want to say tough love, but you're getting honest with yourself, and sometimes that's tough, yeah, but it has to do with you loving yourself enough to do the tough things, right? We can do hard things, is what Glennon Doyle always says. We can do tough things. And I feel like you have it within you here to change the dynamic of a situation. Now, starting off, you do have the Ace of Swords in reverse. So there has been some sort of mistruth or misperceived connotations here. This can even be indecision, or perhaps the mind. Again, we're talking about the areas of the mind that go past that frontal cortex piece and go all the way down to the brain stem. That's our reptilian brain. It's our primal brain of fight or flight or fawn. And I feel like that is something that you are waking up. You're saying, well, we don't really have to wake it up. It's a natural, but it's that piece of connecting all of the dots here and saying, wait a second, am I being honest? Is this true for me yet? It may have been a defense mechanism that I used back then to help me get through it, what I needed to get through, but I'm not in danger now, or I have the ability to not run away, to allow myself to be vulnerable or intimate. Because I didn't mention this, but in the beginning, and I'll just share with you, your main energy is the runner. Fear of intimacy, running away. It says intensity and letting go. If you've ever been in a relationship, or if you've ever had those feelings that have been quite intense, and then it feels like someone gets spooked, right? It reminds me of the old 1980s or 90s movie Cocktail with Tom Cruise. And he gets spooked. He literally says those words in the movie, and he runs away. And Elizabeth Shue, has to go on. She doesn't want to. She'd rather do it with him, right? But she moves on. And it's not till he really comes to his senses and addresses some of those fears that he has about why he's spooked in the first place. So I feel like that's what you are doing here, Aries. You are addressing some of the reasons. And if this is someone else that you're dealing with, I feel like there's a better comprehensive understanding of why someone is acting the way that they are, and you may be deciding if that is worth addressing, or if it's worth kind of releasing or letting go of, depending on your circumstance. Now, in the past position, you have the teddy bear. Like I said, when you love, Aries, you love 110%. You want to put your whole heart into it, but you also want respect, and you want loyalty, and you want someone to be honest with you. And I feel like you may have been interested in someone here. in the past, even if you are single or if you are married, of course, you were interested in someone at some point, even if this is your spouse. And there was a blooming romance, you flirted, you dated each other, courted each other, maybe hung out and did things. But then all of a sudden, somewhere along the line, whether it's 5 months or, 5 decades of being with someone, intimacy and vulnerability, it can take a little bit of a turn. And for some of you, it feels like there may have been a separation. There may have been a little split where at one time you were intimate, but then for whatever reason, whether it be time, whether you stopped communicating with each other, because again, the Ace of Swords is communication. It feels like there has been a letting go of a dynamic, and that's okay for those of you that are divorced, those of you that are separated. We run our cycles, our courses with specific people in our lives. But I feel in the near future, you do have some options, many options. This gives me 7 of Cups vibes. And I feel like you are, I don't want to say spoiled with options here, because some of you are like, Mel, I don't feel like there's a lot of options out there. But I'm not just talking about individuals. I'm talking about your mind, your story. What story do you want to tell yourself? Because that is how we view our reality, by the lens in which we tell ourselves. And I see that you have a couple of different stories you could start to tell yourself. Do you want to live your life in an unconventional way? Are you ready to put yourself out there? Do you want to come together with a lover or a family member or a spouse? What is it that you truly want? You must address this. Whatever this is, the 3 of Swords and the Tower, you must address it, which could feel a little bit scary, because again, it could be digging into maybe a trauma or a trauma response. But I am getting post-traumatic growth, which psychologically is really a thing. Post-traumatic growth, it's where we grow from situations that have been very difficult, very challenging for us. And I see that some of you, you've been strung along, or you felt like you've just been stringing along, kind of like a puppet in a situation here. But because you have the Ace of Swords showing up as your key theme, you have the ability to have a breakthrough, a new understanding. The swords is the mind, is the thought, is the intellect here. So the mind is so incredibly powerful. And when you realize that you have the ability, oh my gosh, you guys, you can't make this up, to tell a new story. Look at what this Ace of Swords is made of. You got books all the way up here. So what story do you want to tell? But I see also some of you may be saying, well, Mel, isn't that a lie? Isn't that story? The story that is a lie is that you have to stay in a fight or flight mechanism, or an old story that no longer exists for you. If you are not happy, if you are perfectly content where you're at, then keep telling yourself that story, right? That I love who I'm with. My life is great. Things are going wonderfully. I'm honest with myself, and I can truly feel like I'm being honest with others and they're being honest with me. But for those of you watching this reading, there's something here that doesn't feel 100% honest because of the Ace of Swords. There may need to be a very important conversation that you either have with yourself or someone else. Because the truth, right? They always say the truth shall set you free. And that really is, that's true, but it's getting to that truth piece that is sometimes the most challenging. But once that is out of the way, the hard part is over. I mean, you still got work to do, but sometimes that's the most difficult part. Now we have the 3 of Cups here crossing the energy. This could be third party. All right, third party, yes, it can be another individual, but it doesn't have to be cheating. It can be, but it can be someone else getting in the mix of things. Maybe you are dealing with a sibling rivalry, and there may be a parent or another sibling that is, part of what's causing some sort of drama. It's like the monkey in the middle. Someone stuck their nose where it didn't belong. Now, this can also be someone choosing something other than the relationship first, such as work, such as a job. It could be choosing their business or choosing substances. You see that these ladies are having fun, but it's in reverse. Sometimes it can be too much fun, and they may do things, say things, or act in ways that they typically wouldn't under a clear mind. So perhaps someone isn't under a clear mind, whether it is due to substances or drugs, or it's because of stress. You know, when we are dealing with copious amounts of stress, that can cause us to constantly stimulate that, you know, adrenaline and be in that fight or flight, that protective barrier again. So I feel like this is definitely worth addressing here for you, Aries. Now, what's below you is the World in reverse. So you are so close. You know, for a lot of you, you're actually closer than you think with your outcome. But the World in reverse is saying, there's been a delayed sense of gratification. There's been a delay towards an ending here, or it just feels like it's been a long journey, you know, and it feels like you still may be holding on to bits and scraps and pieces of something that you're ready to let go of. All right, you are ready to let go of. You're ready to have a new beginning, but you're scared. And that is a normal response. And I feel like some of you, it just feels like you've been on a long, long journey. They're showing me old boots. It could even be military boots. Some of you may be military spouses, or maybe you have a family member in the military that you haven't seen for quite some time, or maybe even long distance. Some of you could have been in a long distance relationship here, or perhaps you moved from country to a new country at some point, maybe due to love, due to family, because the world sometimes can be, you know, traveling at a distance. But I see that you've reached this new level. Yeah, because bottom of the deck, you have paradise. Well, I'll share that with you at the end. Spirit is saying that goes with your outcome, and I can see why. But you have here, you've reached a cycle, but sometimes you may revert back to the old ways of doing things. So it actually does feel like you, the bits and pieces that you fall back into, we all do that, right? We don't completely cut off the end of an old life. You may still have feelings that arise from past relationships or past pains or past hurts, but it's when you sit in them and stir them up and then you can't get out of it, that's when it becomes a problem. Now, in the past, I do see that there's been some sort of either nightmares or anxiety, sleepless nights, tossing and turning. The Nine of Swords is obsessive thoughts. It's obsessive worrying, a lot of anxiety here. This is worst case scenario. It's the monkey mind going a bit crazy over the heart. You actually see a drawing of the heart here on the Nine of Swords. So someone is worried or very, very concerned about what's right in front of them. Now, what's right in front of them is the Three of Swords in reverse. Now, this is the mind, remember. Nine of Swords, worst case scenarios, everything based on what we've gone through. And this is where you take a step back and you say, wait a second, what's really, really going on here? Is my fight or flight kicking in? Is my fawn kicking in? How can I get truly honest? And that's where the Knight of Pentacles comes in. The Knight of Pentacles is taking action based on loyalty and commitment and patience. If you look at this woman, she is riding a bike and she has a basket full of vegetables and she has a horse in the background. She visits that horse every single day. And maybe that horse was a wild horse at one point. Maybe that horse never came up to the fence. And she continued to visit it daily and bring it the carrots and bring it the treats. And it started to grow a bond. It started to trust that it would be there they'd be there for each other in a way over time. And I see that there's a nurturing quality to your energy. If you are showing up here as this Knight of Pentacles, this is also about nurturing yourself. So perhaps this horse gets so expectant upon you to be there for it, where when you have things at times that you need to take care of, I feel like you also need to recognize you have to take care of yourself. And you can do both, okay? You can take care of a relationship and take care of yourself as well. But sometimes you run out of vegetables, right? And you still can show up in a way of support. And that's kind of what I'm getting here. It feels like you don't want to be the only one doing the work at times. Okay, that's for some of you. Yeah, it just feels like you bring and you offer a lot, but someone expects it. All right. And again, I feel like there could be a very strong connection between these two if you are currently in a connection, but maybe, I mean, her back is turned, which is interesting. Her back is turned, and it almost feels like she's leaving, or, you know, the horse is kind of looking after her like, hey, where'd you go? Come back here. So for some of you, you may have had to go your own way for a little bit and fill yourself up with this soul food, we'll call it. But being honest with yourself about how much you're giving. Are you over giving? Do people now expect you to be a certain way? But the good thing about the Knight of Pentacles is, yes, he's dependable. Yes, he's hardworking. Yes, he's trustworthy, but he's also patient. And I see here that there's this energy of patience around you, Aries, which fire signs don't often love that word. I mean, I'm a Leo rising. It's not my favorite or best suit, but you have the Three of Swords here in reverse in the near future. Three of Swords in reverse is unresolved emotional pain that causes one to feel bitter, closed off, or unable to trust. Now, what could be happening is you could have a Knight of Pentacles coming in, because remember, this is the potential. Now, this could be you, it could be someone else, where there is the potential here to really trust the dynamic, trust a relationship, and maybe move forward with it if that's what you want to do, because it is in the upright. And even though the Knight of Pentacles is the slowest moving knight, because again, that word patience, it is still an action taker. All of the knights are movers. They are action takers here. So I see that with time, this is happening here for you. And I think that the patience is paying off here sooner than you think with your outcome. So we have to address what emotional pain or unresolved energies that may still be causing one to be a little bit closed off, or again, bitter, or causing one to sit in this Nine of Swords. And that's why you have the Ace of Truth here. The Ace of Truth is going to say, all right, we're cutting through it. Look at all these swords. Ace of Swords, Nine of Swords, Three of Swords. And then here we have the Tower. This is in your energy though. So Aries, the Tower here is actually your major arcana for change. This is a spiritual awakening. It's a new beginning. It is a destruction of old structures. I feel like this is internal. For a lot of you, this is internal. I don't feel like this is something outside of you. For some of you, it could be. It could be a relationship that, if you're honest with yourself, you may know that it's got its problems, or it's something that you have to focus on yourself for a while, okay? Or you may have to address someone's problems or someone's issues, including your own, or how it affects a relationship in some way. And yes, it's going to bring in a lot of transformation. It's kind of going to blow things up in a way, but I feel like that is exactly what is needed in order for you to have the new beginning that you've been patient, you've tried to be patient for here, in order for you to have that new beginning that you so readily want. Now, what's in the environment? We do have the moon. Now, the moon energy is powerful because not only do we need it? It is very important, just like the sun, right? The sun and the moon coalesce with each other. The moon is our intuition, our emotions. It's Piscean energy. We now have Pisces in the North Node. This is all about our secrets, right? This is about our deep selves, our soul selves, but it's also about our fears and our subconscious. So things that are below the surface and things unconsciously that we're not even aware of, that we are maybe acting in response to situations that have occurred in the past. So perhaps some of you could be dreaming. Do pay attention to your dreams. When I get the Nine of Swords, some of those dreams may be very interesting. Some of you could be dreaming of water, tidal waves. You may be dreaming of hurricanes. You may be dreaming of losing things in like murky waters. Pay attention to animals as well, because your subconscious is trying to get your attention, because what's happening here is you are healing while you sleep. I mean, we all heal. You don't need me to tell you that. We do heal, but I'm also getting energetically and spiritually, there's a lot of healing taking place for you during your dream state. Now, the moon is also about truths being exposed, fears being exposed here. Trust your intuition because yes, there are things that are hidden from you. And until that sun comes out, we don't always see everything for what it is, but there's some beautiful lessons that we can begin to work with the moon energy. Sometimes things are more available to us to fully see on an inner, more personal level when we're in that moon energy. So I actually like that this is showing up in your environment. And also do pay attention to the next full moon. Now I'm not sure what date that is on. I think we just wrapped up the time of this reading about a week or so ago. We just had that first full moon of 2025 in Cancer. So in February, there's going to be a powerful moon here as well. So there could be a massive release around that time. Some of you would benefit from doing a full moon ritual or maybe a letting go ceremony. If you're not familiar what those are, look some of them up. It can be as simple as writing things down that you want to release and then burning them in a fire. I'm also getting here dreams, like dream journaling, so that could be beneficial. And I also see here the magic of the moon, okay? The magic of the moon is, it feels like it's calling you to pay attention to, all right, what is an illusion versus what do you know to be true for you versus what is an illusion? So pay attention to the magic of the moon coming in here. In your hopes and fears, you have the King of Cups. I love that this is showing up. The King of Cups in the upright as a hope is you either attracting or being someone who is very loving, very supportive, very emotionally intelligent, patient, compassionate. The King of Cups is very much a strong, emotional, bonded person, but he has to be able to trust because sometimes he can be the one that is on the island all by himself because he may keep people at an arm's length until he trusts them or until he trusts himself to open up fully to connections around him. And that's what I see here with the King of Cups. Someone may love to sail because I'm getting a lot of water here. Someone may live on the water, by the water. They may have like a jet ski or a kayak, a paddleboard. I see the tube in the back. Maybe they like water sports. Okay, the King of Cups here is very much a loving individual, and I see that they've gone through a lot of situations where their heart has been through a lot as well, but I feel like that has caused them to love themselves even more. Remember what I said about post-traumatic growth? This is it. When you get to that King of Cups in the upright position after have gone through hell, I mean, that is taking an experience and making the best out of it, becoming a better version of oneself because of it. So this is either you or it is someone that you are attracting. Now, the outcome for you, Aries, I love, you have the Fool. The Fool is, it's the soul self. It's untethered by everything of the past, right? You're not carrying that old heaviness with you. Now, we all have we all have a past, right? We all have that energy, but it feels like you're not taking the parts with you that are going to sabotage, that are going to run, that are going to fear intimacy or vulnerability. It feels like you've been working on that, or that is where you are headed, to really working on that so you can fully manifest a beginning where you can be 100% in this King and Queen of Cups energy. All right, where there is emotional connection, there is a sense of trust, there's a sense of love and bonding. And I feel like the Fool is saying, take a leap of faith, even though we're scared, Okay, we have the Three of Swords, the Tower, the Nine of Swords, and the Moon. You don't know how this is going to turn out, and it scares the heck out of you, right? But I feel like you can trust in the information that is coming through your own intuition, because you have the Knight of Pentacles, which is slow and steady. So it feels like your intuition is giving you a lot of guidance, a lot of support at this time. There could also be someone in your world that you can connect to that helps you move slowly but surely forward. Now, I love the Fool as your outcome, because this does mean that you're trusting in your soul self, that you have the potential to open up to a new story, a new way of doing things, a new life for you and the person you're with if you're connected, and the person that you have the potential to call in as well. This is the card of travel and curiosity and self-discovery. So you have it all showing up here, Aries. This is beautiful. All right, let's get a message from the wisdom of the oracle and matters of the heart. Oh, okay. Spirit said, wait a second. Don't forget the paradise. So we have the paradise at the bottom of this deck here. Remember, we talked about that Six of Wands, which was at the bottom of the tarot deck. The shot, like this is your shot. We have paradise, and this says happiness and joy. This is basically the sun. This is the sun. Happiness and joy, playfulness, enjoying each other's company, and honeymoon phase. Some of you could be traveling. I do see a couple of cards here of travel. Some of you could be entering into a honeymoon period, or even renewing your vows in some way. And for those of you that this isn't a romantic or love interest, this could be a very strong, solid, maybe friendship, an emotional connection with someone where it is very playful. You do enjoy each other's company, and it's important to trust the process. The Knight of Pentacles, slow and steady. And I feel like you're reigniting that playfulness within each other, because the Fool is also one of the most playful major arcanas. He is funny and he's joyful and he takes risks, but I feel like you're not taking any unnecessary impulsive actions, right? This is taking a risk at vulnerability, taking a risk at telling a new story for yourself, unencumbered by the blockages that have caused one to kind of hole up or guard themselves in a way that love can't even get in. So trust that paradise is a story that could be a part of your timeline if you so choose, if it's not already. All right, let's get a message here from the wisdom of the oracle. What do we have, please, for Aries? All right, Aries, I'm getting the name Tom or Thomas. Tom or Thomas. This could also be Saint Thomas or Saint Tom Island. We have the Justice card here. Some of you may even be dealing with a Libra. Of course, Libra is the opposite on your astrological wheel. So card 38, we have Justice. This feels like some good karma after going through some hard stuff. Let's look here. 38, you could be 38 years old. 38 could be a significant number. This is balance, justice, a need to consider options. There's the options energy that we have, and it talks about the law of cause and effect. Can you find a way to achieve fairness or balance right now? This is a time for listening as well as speaking, for understanding as well as asking to be understood. There is much to be learned, and you will learn it if you remain open and objective, weighing options and considering all sides. Your heart wants to connect to others, so allow for a balanced exchange of ideas and actions. The best kind of relationship is the one in which there is mutual benefit and each party feels heard, valued, and respected. Be fair to all. That is why you have the Ace of Truth as your starting energy here. Now, I am going to read to you the protection message, because some of you are stuck in the Nine of Swords, even though it's in the past. But I do see the Three of Swords, that you're releasing this, which is beautiful, because it's not always easy. It can be time consuming to work through some grief, work through some pain or some loss or some heartbreak. But it says here, Injustice and inequity are part of life, but they do not have to define your experience. This is a time when you may observe an injustice righted and fairly redressed. Perhaps you come to the rescue of someone else or are called to answer for a personal slight. You will be amazed by the sense of power that surges through you when you stand up for yourself and others. This card could also indicate that you are a good advocate for others who are less fortunate. Choose your cause and commit to it because you can make a difference. One thing is for certain, if fairness is your intention, the situation will be resolved for the highest good of all concerned through acts of kindness, empathy, and courage. Kindness, empathy, and courage. So yeah, some of you may certainly feel called to help another, and that may be also part of the Knight of Pentacles that we talked about. She's bringing that horse some food. So you may be called to help on a larger scale. For others of you, you may have someone who needs you at this time because you've been through it or you have words of wisdom. I feel like you are this balancing beam for another. And I also feel like because you have that ability to be that way for another, you have that ability to be that way for yourself. We have the fortune cookie here, and we also have the egg. The fortune cookie says no. So it feels like there's a new story based on maybe an old one that didn't work out the way that you thought, or it could be, something that you had to say no to in the past, like no more running, no more holding myself off, no more feeling like I'm not good enough, or whatever that is for you. We talked about that earlier. And I feel like the egg is also a new beginning, a choice to weigh up maybe even some pros and cons at this time and really ask yourself, what is important to you? All right, that is what I have for you, Aries. If you like the message, please hit that thumbs up button. Feel free to share, like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And thank you so very much for tuning in today. Lots of love.